Today we're going to be talking about our Greenland Arctic Trails and Tales and the Icefjord trek. We are going to cover a lot of information, and a lot of this does overlap, except for obviously one is camping and hiking, and one is based in hotels. And we're going to start off by doing some introductions so you can meet the people, the team behind it. We're going to talk about why East Greenland, what makes it so special. And we'll then focus on Arctic villages and the Icefjord trek, and then we'll take time to do a Q&A. You can use the chat feature to drop in some questions, and then when I get a chance, I will address them. Cynthia is also monitoring the chat too, and she can answer questions or alert me, Inga or Einar, that there are questions that need to be answered. Okay. Okay, so let's I just want to see here. Okay, so we will if you're new to Green Adventures, we have about 17 destinations around the world, and it all started with one group going to Baja, Mexico, and those 10 ladies almost 17 years ago said, "Where are we going next, Tara?" And this is what happens when you have a good team who cares about their clients, makes them feel safe, makes them feel like family, and takes them to off the beaten path places. We've developed some amazing itineraries in these destinations, and Greenland was a dream of mine for a long time. I had been taking groups to Iceland since 2017, and finally, and fate had put me in touch with Ingebjörg, as my guide in Iceland. And I was telling her, I was like, I've always wanted to go to Greenland. And this was in 2023. And she said, "I have some ideas for you." And now here we are, 2025, going into 2026. And we have the Arctic Villages tour. We've done 2 years in a row. And now we've added the Icefjords trek because we have a growing number of women who love to explore wild places powered by their own steam. And so with me tonight is Cynthia Sherman. She is our tour leader for the Icefjords trek. And on every Green Adventures tour, you have local expert guides who are assisted by tour leaders from Green Adventures. So Cynthia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. As I mentioned, there's a few of you that actually a good handful of you that, where I've met before. But yeah, Cynthia Sherman. I've been teaching for about 25 years, and places that I've hiked have been Patagonia, Kilimanjaro. I've led Lagavulin. Super excited to just be outdoors and to hike along aside many of you. And what about Greenland? I think it's just the Arctic fresh air, and honestly, I'm going to just say this, like, unlimited people. Just being one with nature, and just a little inner peace and camaraderie goes a long way. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to like that you are going to be the tour leader on this trip. One, because you know so many of the hikers who are interested, but also you bring a lot of expertise. I mean, you're great at like not only just like cheerleading, but you've got awesome information on building like how to pack and packing lists and outdoor gear, and you help support people to help them prepare for each of those trekkings, those trekking tours that we offer. So I couldn't imagine anybody else in our team to lead this expedition. So I'm really excited.
Thanks,
Uh,
Tara. I as well.
so I'd like to introduce Einar.
Thank you. So I am Einar Torfifinnsson, and I've been operating trips to Greenland. It will be 30 years next year. Started 96 doing trips in Greenland. So I've been operating and guiding all this time, and mostly in East Greenland, but also a bit all over. So yeah, that's my
And
main thing.
what I love is that Einar is so humble about his descriptions about his guiding. Einar, how many times have you crossed the Greenlandic glacier?
5 times.
He has crossed the Greenland ice cap 5 times. And you've also did a South Pole expedition too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. For 10 years ago, I did from Hercules Inlet to the South Pole with 3 clients.
So next year we're going to the South Pole.
Maybe. But if you're ambitious in mountaineering, I also recommend the highest peak of Greenland, the Gunnbjörn. It's about what 11,000-12,000 feet, and it's really beautiful and very remote, and a little higher budget than a normal trip.
All right, well, I'll put it on my list. But the reason I wanted you to know that is because Einar will most likely not be with us on our particular, like throughout the whole time in Greenland, but you will see him there. He's the one who's making calls to the boat drivers to do logistics. He's the one making sure that safety is taken care of. He is the backbone of the operation there, and it's important for you to know that he's got a really long many years in mountaineering and these expedition type trips. And then there's Inga.
Hi, I'm here.
Inga and I have been guiding together in Greenland for 2 years, and also in Iceland many times. And Inga will be with us on our Arctic Villages tour. But Inga, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, I hate that. But yes, so I've been guide for over 35 years in Iceland and in Greenland also. And with Tara, this will be our 3rd trip to Greenland with Greenland Team. And what I love about Greenland is it's the remoteness, the people, and the culture. There's just something about Greenland that is amazing. So I always look forward to going there. I try to go a year at least.
Me too.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people on the Icefjord or they're considering the Icefjord trek may want to know is who's the guide that'll be working with Cynthia. Have we established who that person is yet? Would you want to share what qualifications that guide would have?
Well, the guide will always have. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the guide will always have a mountain leader qualification at least, which is the kind of hiking guide diploma that exists all over Europe. And the English call it the Mountain Leader Award, but it has different names depending on countries. I've already offered that job to a guide, but I'm waiting for an answer. That's a girl that is very, very good. One of the best guides I've ever had on the team.
And quite a lot of fun too.
And yeah, but most guides have to be very entertaining also. But she's really special. But if not, then I have another couple of guides on the list.
Okay, I trust you. You guys have a great record of connecting me with really good people, so I trust you will find the right person for us. And then also on the Icefjords trek, there will be a camp assistant if we have 8 participants minimum. There'll be a guide, Cynthia, and then a camp assistant, right, who will help set up camp, get there ahead of time.
Yeah, ahead of time of the walking group, yes.
Yeah, at each of the camps. Okay.
Yeah, so there is a transport. The transport is made by Inuit boats, and with that Inuit boats would be the extra help that would take the camper, bring it ashore, and put up the camp before the people comes.
All right, let's talk about what makes East Greenland special, because a lot of people are saying now that there are some direct flights from the United States to Greenland, people are like, oh, like everybody's going to Greenland. Well, Greenland's a really big island, and East Greenland, actually, I should show you a map here just a second. I'll show you specifically where East Greenland is, but East Greenland is like going to a place that is still untouched. So a lot of those direct flights you're hearing about from the United States are going to West Greenland. And that's where there are roads and bigger cities. And basically where all the Instagram influencers are advertising right now. And East Greenland gives us a chance to get to still see a part of Greenland that's remote with unmarked, hiking trails. There's no roads going between the islands. There's cultural resilience. You're going to learn about the Inuits and how their culture has sustained itself and changed in a relatively short period of time. And then also it's ground zero for seeing climate change. You're going to see that a lot of the places you walk in East Greenland have just been exposed within the last 20 or 30 years. So there's a lot changing, and every year is different than the year before. Also, what's special are the cultural experiences. And Einar can, maybe back me up on or supplement this information. It's just that from my experience there, and meeting with the locals, going to museums and having cultural programs, is that East Greenland is about 20 years behind in terms than West Greenland. Is that true? Or do you have anything to share about that?
Technically not really. Culturally, it's mixed. Actually, it's more complex because they were found like 2 centuries by Europeans. They were found 2 centuries after the west part. So it's only been like 150 years that they've been contact with the Western cultures. So the tradition is very strong still. The old tradition. Mm-hmm. Very strong still, and the hunters' mentality is very strong. But of course, I mean, they have internet and modern boats and quads and stuff. But we could say economically they are 20 years behind West Greenland, definitely.
Okay.
So it's modern people, but with very, very strong roots in the past.
So if you want to kind of see on a map here where in Greenland this trip takes place is basically where the little star is. And you see it's relatively close to Iceland. Einar, how big is Greenland again? Do you have a reference for that?
Yeah, it's 22 times bigger than Iceland. It's about 5 times bigger than California, 4 times bigger than Texas.
Okay. I know that like the ice sheet, it's the second largest ice sheet in the world. That ice sheet is the size of Mexico, just so you know how big like the ice is on Greenland. And it's about an hour and 45-minute flight from Keflavik to get to East Greenland where this star is. And then if you were to zoom into where the star is, you'll see that these are fjords and islands that we'll be exploring. And Einar, do you have I have maps specifically of the Arctic Village and maps of the Icefjord trek, but is there anything you want to share specifically, especially about the Tasiilaq Glacier? Do you want to talk about the overall of this section?
Well, I mean, there is one thing to mention is that many people that go to Greenland, they go to Ilulissat, the Icefjord, because of the ice.
And that's in the west, right?
That's in the west.
Yes,
and that's because it's quite known there is a glacier that is calving very, very fast. What people do not know is that in the Tasiilaq Fjord is a glacier called Helheim that goes about the same speed into the ocean, which is about maybe around 40 meters or 120 feet a day per day. And it's calving constantly ice into the fjord. It's a very fast system. So the Tasiilaq Fjord is always full of icebergs of all sizes, from tiny to really huge.
I think the very first time I saw an iceberg in the Tasiilaq, the Icefjord here, I remember thinking it was a glacier, and it was an iceberg. It was the size of like an Amazon warehouse, and it was moving, very slowly, but like you'd look in 5 hours and that thing was moving down the fjord. Like that is amazing. And for me, I know I didn't know what to expect when I was thinking about going to Greenland for the very first time. I wanted to see the icebergs, but I really just pictured rock and ice. But Greenland is so much more than that. You really have to get down to there and put your feet on the ground to see it. But let's talk about how you get to Greenland. So this trip starts and ends at both trips start and end at the Keflavik International Airport. So we have, in the package prices that are offered on the websites, have already blocked out group airfare space to fly from Keflavik to Kulusuk, Greenland. You just have to get yourself to Keflavik International Airport. And we provide detailed travel parameters on doing that. There are those of you who have been to Iceland already know there are many direct flights from US cities. And even if you don't have a direct flight, there are easy connections to make. Iceland Air is your most common, but also United and Delta have regular flights in the summertime. What do you pack? Another thing that people might have a misconception about when it comes to Greenland is that you need to show up wearing like your snow pants and all your winter gear. That's true if you show up in winter, but for the summer, it's actually drier and more sunny, and the weather is usually more consistent than in Iceland. But so you want to look, when you think about packing for Greenland, again, you're given a detailed packing list. In general, you want to think about it as a spring-like place versus a wintry place. And you want to dress in layers. And by that, it means you want many thin layers versus one heavy, bulky jacket, right? So these ladies here on the right, they're most likely wearing merino wool base layer t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt. And then like a fleece jacket, and then on top of that, a waterproof rain jacket. And then on the bottom, they're probably wearing just regular hiking pants or merino wool. On this day, this was a kind of a cooler day, merino wool leggings, hiking pants, rain pants. And so that would be your typical type of wear. You would want to bring trekking poles because the ground is uneven. There are no trails. Even if you walk in the roads, they're gravel roads. It's nice to have the trekking poles for extra balance. Your backpack does not have to be like this backpack, you could have a 30-liter backpack, a 32 to 40-liter backpack for this trip for both the regular Arctic villages and the Arctic, the Icefjord trek. And because for those doing the trek, your luggage is going to be moved for you from one camp to the next. You just need to carry your layers, your water, snacks, and whatever essentials you want for the day. It's pretty much day hikes from camp to camp. And you'll notice we put a bug head net on there. There are mosquitoes and some of the flies can be bothersome, so you want to have a bug head net. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Einar, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I think it was pretty accurate what you said.
Yeah, just sometimes it's always nice to hear from the expert. Inga, you're good with it?
Yeah, fine.
So here's what they all look like. This is what you would look like. So you notice they're wearing the head nets. That's what a bug head net is. It's like $2.99, at the sports store, and it'll just keep you from having to do this all the time. It keeps your hands free for taking pictures and for your trekking poles. But notice it's a blue sky day. They're wearing their layers and carrying day packs. One thing that you may not be able to see from this photo is that the hiking pants they're wearing are like soft shell hiking pants. This is for anybody going to Greenland because the mosquitoes can't bite through those double, triple layer type hiking pants. You don't want to use leggings or like really thin summer hiking pants because a mosquito can bite through that. So you want pants that can withstand like sitting down on a rock and potentially ripping, something that is slightly water resistant. So you don't have to wear your rain pants, but if there's a little bit of a drizzle, it goes off. And then also those two qualities will help prevent mosquitoes from going through and biting you as well. Excuse me.
Can I add a little bit?
Please.
Yeah, so just want to underline that mosquitoes are not always aggressive. If there's a little breeze, they're pretty much away. And also, what do you call it? Anti-DEET cream or anti-mosquito cream does help a lot. So most of the time, I almost never wear a bug net myself. Most of the time, you don't really need that. But this is during a crossing of the Sun Gate, and that's a particularly bad place for bugs. So there's a lot of mosquitoes there. But when you're at the ocean, most of the time you don't really need to have the bug net, just that you're not scared away because of the picture.
Good point. That's a good point. And then this picture is from the trek, Icefjord
Yes.
trek.
Yes.
When you fly in from Iceland to Greenland, this is what you will see. I just want you to, there was a point, I made a point of having this picture really big because it does a lot of things. One, it shows you that how rugged and raw these islands are coming out of the North Atlantic Ocean. But also, there's a little bit of you that probably will think on your way when you're landing here, I can't believe I'm going to Greenland. That's what travel does when you get to go do these really unique experiences that feel like they're on the edge of the earth. Many of you that are here watching this presentation live for that. And it's getting harder and harder and more expensive to get to places that feel like dream locations that everybody hasn't just shown up yet. And I want to tell you that East Greenland is that place, but it's not going to be that place for very much longer. So if you can go now, go. And so this is the video coming in. You see there's different types of ice. There's actual pack ice. So that's the flat ice that is, from the frozen ocean. And then there's glacial icebergs that come from the glaciers themselves. And as you can see, that Greenland does actually have some green qualities to it. It isn't just rock and ice. And you are going to be exploring a variety of these trails. Those on the Arctic Villages trip will be doing short experiences that get them onto these trails. Those doing the trek will be living in this wilderness type experience 24/7, embracing the midnight sun, an Arctic wilderness. The landscapes are dotted by beautiful, colorful Greenlandic houses, with an ever-changing, moody landscape. From here, you have the thick fog coming in against the back of those high mountain peaks. One of my very, very favorite experiences during Arctic Village is to go walk out here. This is in the town of Tinnet, a little Inuit village. We were sitting here in watching the ice in this fjord. This is where I saw that giant iceberg that was the size of an Amazon warehouse. And it's so quiet that all of a sudden you can hear the sounds of whales breathing. So we everywhere standing under the midnight sun, watching the whales feeding by these icebergs. And there's everywhere you look, there's life asserting plants. It's such a harsh environment, but you have mosses and little flowers, and this is the cotton grass. And there's dwarf river beauty, Arctic river beauty, which is it's dwarf fireweed. Mm-hmm. And then also just, beautiful vistas all around. This is the town of Kulusuk, and this is where both tours start their journey into East Greenland. Einar, do you have something to add? Inga?
No, just that the trek also starts in Tinni. That's the starting point of the trekking.
But we spend the night in Kulusuk, and then you go to Tinnet. Yes, yeah. Right. So everyone will get a chance to go to Tinnet, but everybody flies to Kulusuk and spends one night at a hotel there, regardless of the tour that you're on. And when you land in Kulusuk, it's a gravel runway. And a couple of years ago, before we were landing, there was a polar bear running around on this runway. We never got to see polar bears. I've yet to see a polar bear while I'm in Greenland, but this is polar bear country. And you land at this little airport, and they bring your luggage by a trailer, like a tractor trailer. We put the luggage into a van, and then we walk to the hotel. Oh, here's a kind of what that looks like. You definitely know you've landed in some place pretty remote. I mean, this is how you get your luggage. And then we stay at the Hotel Kulusuk. And this is a 3-star hotel. They actually have a sauna now. When we were there last year, they were getting it repaired. So hopefully this year, the sauna will be working. But what that hotel is looking at is this an icy bay. And this is a photo I took one night at like 1:30 a.m. of the midnight sun setting over the bay right behind the hotel. And it's a basic outpost, but it's like it's better than one could expect in such a remote place, because the infrastructure in many of these little, well, there isn't much infrastructure for tourists in these towns. And so this is what the typical room looks like. Again, both Arctic Village and trekkers will be starting at this hotel. And so you'll get a good night's sleep before you head off on your trek. And it's buffet food. They have a variety of things. I think the only limitation would be is if you're a vegan. Vegans have a really difficult time in Greenland with variety. You're going to be eating the same, basically, frozen vegetables. It's hard to get protein for vegans. So if you're a vegan, please talk to us before you sign up, and we'll talk to you about how we can accommodate you, if any. And the town offers a chance to just get a feel for Inuit life. I mean, in this photo, Inga's walking us around, and she's talking to us about like culture and history. And we saw women skinning a seal. We saw kids playing with the husky puppies that are running around. So it's right away, you're going to feel like you have, you're experiencing Inuit culture. And as I mentioned before, when I showed you the video, or I showed you the map of this area, is that it's a roadless area. It's only waterways, and you'll be navigating through ice. The wildlife encounters that you are most likely to encounter are going to be by boat. So it's highly likely we'll see whales. One year we saw whales bubble net feeding right next to us. We might actually see seals out there, and we always lots of birds, and we're always on the lookout for polar bears too. This is what the passenger boats look like. There's with Arctic Villages, we do a lot of our sightseeing and day trips with these boats. And then the Icefjord trek folks, at the end of your trek, you will be in these boats and do a day trip too. That's correct, right, Einar? That when they do their fjord excursion and go to the World War II site, and to the Rasmussen Glacier, they're in a boat like this.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And look at this. I mean, this is what it's like to navigate through this ice.
Yeah.
And this is really important to show everybody, regardless of the tour that you're on. This is how we get in and out of these boats. We walk down steep gangways that are, some are missing boards. We have to stand on bare granite rock. It might be slippery, and we have to climb, step over onto boats. And so there's always a helping hand, but this is a very typical scene for getting in and out of the boats. And getting off of the boats, you see stepping out, walking on, this sometimes wet granite, but again, always with a helping hand. The boats do not have bathrooms on them. We do have plenty of opportunities to those on when we're traveling by boat. We do have opportunities to get out and use the facilities. And here's a common scene to be motoring around and see a giant iceberg. And they're all different shapes and sizes, and they look like they're like just pieces of art. And in a way, they're endangered environments here. To go through these iceberg fields through the fjords, those are going to be around forever. And to be able to see this coming from the second largest ice cap in the world is something. It's a story to tell. And it's something that you can that you could treasure forever. Yeah, here's what it looks like to kind of go through these roadless, these ice roadways, basically.
Tara, all I could think of is iceberg straight ahead. Sorry, I had to chime in. I'm sure somebody else is thinking that.
And
Yeah,
this
I was
is
just
actually
thinking,
going
don't
pretty
drop your
slow. There's
phone.
sometimes you're like, what's that, Joanna?
I was thinking, just don't drop your phone.
Oh, I know. It's an occupational hazard I'm willing to risk. All for you. So you can see what these places are like. Okay, so and then here's an opportunity, like it's humpback whales that are here during this time of year feeding.
Oh my God.
I mean, we're the only ones here. This isn't a big boat tour with 100 other people out looking at whales. We are traveling between two places and happen to see wildlife. Both tours will get a chance to get out and have a lunch near the Rasmussen Glacier. And this is just a really beautiful place for just kind of a scenic lunch and to enjoy the serenity and quiet of Greenland. Both tours will take a trip to this, it's the WW2 Bluey East like it's the army base or the air, it's a runway. Einar, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, it's the old army base of from the Second World War II. But Tara, remember, we shortened the trip, so it's not on the Inuit village any longer.
It's not on the what?
Inuit village tour any
Okay.
longer. The Arctic villages.
Okay. So the group that is doing the trek, or the Icefjords trek, is doing this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And so it's a chance to see these relics that were left behind.
Yes, by the army. Yeah.
Okay, so the Arctic Villages tour is now we'll talk specifically about each of the trips and give you a chance to ask questions about those before we then go towards and then so each one you can ask questions. So the Arctic Villages trip is July 10 to 17. It's really got more of a focus on it's a comfort-based tour because you're gonna be, you're not. This is for people who want to sleep in beds. We've got a variety of adventures to do, so it's a little bit of hiking. We go do ice cave trek. We have cultural programs, and in general, compared to the Icefjord trek, it is less physically demanding. But there still is a level of how would you describe the level of fitness here, Inga?
I would say it's rather easy, except we have one a day hike, what are we? We are like from maybe walking from around 9:30, 10 o'clock to like 3, 4 o'clock, I think, depending on the weather. It's a slow and easy hike. It's nothing like we are hiking up a hill to overview the fjords with all the icebergs over Tinit, and that's the most strenuous hike. Otherwise, it's more like a strolls and visits and just easy hikes.
Nice. Okay, good. So Einar, do you want to talk a little bit about the plan here?
Yeah, so the plan is to stay 2 nights in Kulusuk and do a walk in the village, right? To go also to the Aputsai Glacier. Do you see? So on the bottom, the red ring is Kulusuk, and then above that is an island called Aputsai. And the Aputsai is quite a big island compared to Kulusuk Island, and it has a glacier that carves into the ocean. And on that glacier, we do a glacier walk and visit an ice cave. And of course, the ice cave is a little bit upon conditions, but the glacier is definitely going to be there next summer, so the ice walk is always guaranteed. But most likely we get the ice cave as well.
And we do a picnic out there.
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
What did you say, Inga?
We do a picnic out there on the glacier. Remember?
Yeah.
By the glacier.
And then we go to Tiniit at the Tasiilaq Fjord. And I was thinking, Tara, actually, oh, she's gone.
I'm here. I'm back.
I'm thinking actually it might be a good idea actually, because we could, instead of going to the Johan Pedersen Fjord, we could actually have go to the Tiniit village, and then on the long day go to commute at the World War II air base at Rasmussen Glacier instead of going to Johan Pedersen. Actually, I think that might be a good idea.
See, folks, we're working things out even in the presentation.
I mean,
We're
Well,
just thinking out loud
I'm
here.
just thinking out loud, but
Yeah.
because you presented it, and it actually, in my head, it turns out that's a good idea actually.
Okay, well, good.
And yeah, so we go into Tiniit at the Tasiilaq Fjord, and we talked about the Tasiilaq Fjord.
Can you point at Tiniit? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
do you
the
see my
Tasiilaq Fjord.
cursor moving?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And the Tasiilaq Fjord is the one I was talking about that is so full of ice because of this Helheim Glacier being calving 120 feet of ice per day into the fjord. And you see the small red loop there. We do a small walk from the village, and where we have good view over the Icefjord, but we also get to know the sort of vegetation, microscopic landscape, lots of stones and different, rock types. Really, actually, I like that very much, that walk, because of the variety of the terrain we're on. And the village itself is also quite interesting. Probably the best pictures often come from there because of the proximity with the icebergs. And we stay for a couple of nights in a local house in.
Well, I'm going to show you. I have some pictures of those things. I just kind of wanted the overall. So
Okay.
here's Tiniit's where we stay. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No.
This is where we stay in the local house, and then we take a boat from here down to Tasiilaq. This is where we see a lot of whales on the way to Tasiilaq, it seems like. And then we stay in Tasiilaq, and we have some hikes there. We do more of our cultural experiences here, and then we end up in Kulusuk and fly out of Kulusuk. So that's this is the route we take on the Arctic Villages tour. And so the accommodations are 2 nights in Kulusuk, 2 nights in Greenlandic houses, which we're going to show you in just a second, 2 nights in Tasiilaq, which is Kulusuk and Tasiilaq are in hotels. Greenlandic houses, we have a little bit more rustic accommodations, and I'll explain why. And this trip does end with 1 night in Iceland. All the meals in Greenland are included, and if you're at the hotel, it's buffet. And then when we stay in the Greenlandic houses in Tiniit, those are prepared by Inga and Einar, if Einar's with us. So this is what one of the houses look like in Tiniit, these Greenlandic houses. We're not sharing it with a family. We're in there ourselves. They are very comfortable, clean, modern, but they don't have running water. So we have to bring drinking water in there's like a pump house very close to the property. And there's also, the toilets are more like I would say like a outhouse type toilet or a pit toilet. How would you describe it? There's never a good way to describe it. Einar, use your
Bucket toilet without the spiders. No spiders.
That's funny. No spiders. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
It's a bathroom, and it's a bucket. It looks like a toilet, but it has a seat, but it has a bag in it. So the bag does have to be taken out multiple times, at least twice each day. And when Einar's with us, he's our bucket guy. So thanks a lot. But that's what most of the houses have. They don't have indoor plumbing, and if you want to live in an Inuit village for 2 nights, you have to do what the locals do. And then also, what's that?
The basic thing is that there's no pipes or plumbing in the villages. There's no sewage system. There's just electricity. That's the only thing that is provided from the community to the houses.
And water to the water houses.
And the water to the water pumps.
Yeah.
And then the bedrooms, there's three. It depends on how many people we have on the tour, how many houses we rent. But in this house in particular, there are 3 bedrooms upstairs, and there are two. There are were there
3
bedrooms?
rooms.
There are 3 bedrooms.
3 rooms.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the rooms has a bed that's on a frame, and we provide the sleeping bags. And then the other rooms have sleeping pads, like thick sleeping pads on the ground. And then we provide sleeping bags to go with that too. So for 2 nights, you're kind of like camping inside on thick sleeping pads.
Yeah, we provide also pillows and sheets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is, Tinnet, the view from the front door in Tinnet. Which village was this? This was when we did the Cafe Mick.
Kumit.
Kumit. This is Kumit. You never know what you're going to see when you're walking around the village. Here's a polar bear skin that's being dried out. We were invited also into a woman's home, and she served us cake and coffee and talked to her about her life. And it was a really special experience, and to learn, about her and the culture, and she had some really good stories to share. Tasiilaq is the last village that we stay at, and this hotel has a really cool sauna that overlooks the village and this fjord. And this was taken this year. The year before, that fjord was completely full of ice, and this year there wasn't any ice in this particular fjord. So it's always changing environment. And it's a really comfortable place to stay. There's plenty of places, to stretch out and socialize, play cards. The beds they look very similar to the hotel in Kulusuk. But it gives us a chance to really do some more of that cultural component. And we go to an artist shop here, and we meet the artists who make tupalaks, which are Inga, what's a tupalak?
That's how they describe this the spirit worlds.
Oops.
Or they try to explain that to us how they look like.
And then there's
carve them out from bones.
And you learn about the story behind like how these tupalaks were protectors, and they also in some ways were like they could like curse people too, but it's neat to like go in there and see these artists actually making these from bones of like reindeer and maybe seal.
Narwhal.
Narwhal, but we don't purchase marine mammal stuff though, so you won't find endangered marine mammals. So we won't purchase anything from a narwhal or like I'm trying to think of some other whales, but you can from reindeer and seals. No, I think just reindeer, not seals either, because it's a marine mammal. And then we get a tour of, this is an Inuit summer house. Is that what this is, Inga?
A winter house.
Winter house.
A winter house. Yes, a winter house. I knew that. And we learn about how like we go down into this house, and it's like the entrance is lower, so that the cold air doesn't, so the hot air doesn't escape. And you learn about how many families were in here. There's more than one. There's several families who are living in here. You learn about some of the some of their techniques for like making clothes, mending clothes, cooking, some of their toys. And there's a museum that we will visit and see artifacts. There's drum dancing, and for the Arctic fjord trekkers, the drum dancing isn't on the itinerary, but occasionally they have a drum dancer at Hotel Kulusuk. Right? Is that a possibility?
I mean, we have a couple of people in Kulusuk that can do it. So if we throw in a little bit, then we can get a drum dancer. Yes.
Okay. If we get a group of 10, I'll make sure we get a drum dancer on the Icefjord trek. So the hiking. Some of these paths that the Arctic villages people are walking are similar to what the trekkers are going to be trekking. And just notice that, I mean, a variety of terrain from soft, cushiony green moss to granite landscapes with deep fjords and floating icebergs and pack ice. We walk through villages. And what One thing I learned from hiking in Iceland, in Greenland, is the reason why we don't collect rocks. It's because when I got to Greenland, I looked down and there's so many different types of rocks, colors, weights, shapes, and it's because nobody's been there to collect them. And it was so amazing to actually have that realization, to see what a landscape should look like untouched by people. And notice the terrain here. So we're on the left side, walking, down this, these like mossy type beds with dwarf willow trees around. On the right, walking up steep, like granite, outcrops. Again, this is all very similar type terrain that the people who are solely doing trekking will do. And then we do an ice hike. This is Arctic Villages group does an ice hike. This is the one Einar was talking about, which we go to a glacier, and then eventually we go inside, as long as the ice cave is still there and safe. We go into the ice cave, and it's interesting to see, like, just to watch, like, the veins of, water moving through this, like, it's almost, living in a non-living way. It seems like it's just static, but it's constantly moving and changing, even while we're there. Are there opportunities to swim? So there aren't any opportunities to swim. I recommend you do that in Iceland, because in Greenland, there's no place to swim. I didn't even see people like taking a dip in the bay. Inga, do you have something to say about that?
Well, we could do it. I mean, there is a possibility to do it.
But the sea is cold.
But the sea is, of course, ice cold.
You know what we could do? I think if the sauna is working in Kulusuk,
that could be really a good spot to do.
We could do that, because it's not too far to scuttle down to the ocean. To the ocean, right? Yeah, to scuttle down there into the ocean and then go back up to the
sauna.
That's I like how, Joanne, I like how you think. That's mission accepted. All right. Any other those of you who have questions about Arctic Villages, put them in the chat if you can. I'm going to go right into the Icefjord trek, and I will Einar's going to have to probably jump in on a lot of this. But in general, this is for experienced hikers and nature lovers. If you haven't done a multi-day hike, this trip isn't for you. This should be somebody who is that you like spending your days anywhere from 4 to 8 hours on your feet, walking, and resting, but being in motion most of the day. The trek is about 50 miles or about 70 kilometers over 5 days. Einar, did I calculate that correctly?
I think so. And I just want to add that, on the other hand, if you have done the Icelandic Laugavegur trek, then this is ideal.
Yeah.
If you haven't been struggling, especially on the Laugavegur trek, then you can easily do that one.
Right. And there's quite a few people on this call who have done Laugavegur. And I think that this is a nice next step for them to do that. And then also you have the added bonus of a partial solar eclipse August 12th. You'll be on your way back to Kulusuk. You may even be in Kulusuk at the time of the partial solar eclipse. And Einar says it's about 93%. I think I read it was like 90. So we'll say 90 to 93% coverage. But still, how cool is that to be in Greenland during a partial solar eclipse? I think that's pretty cool. So the accommodations on this tour are 2 nights in Kulusuk in the 3-star hotel, the same hotel we showed you at the beginning. It's night 1, so you fly to Keflavik. Flights get in at like 6 a.m. So you have the afternoon, and then which we'll give you suggestions of things to do. The Blue Lagoon is not very far. It's like 15 minutes from the airport. We could, store your luggage, and you could go to the Blue Lagoon, meet back at the airport to fly over. First night is in Kulusuk, and then the next day after that, we go off to do the trek, and then it's 5 nights camping, and then the last night you come back off of the trek, the 12th of August, you will spend the night at Hotel Kulusuk again. So you'll have a nice hot shower and bed to sleep in before flights the next day. And the food is at the hotels, it's buffets. And then when it's out at camp, its guide is going to prepare it with help of the campers. That's what that should say. And this is what your camp looks like. So Einar, do you want to describe the camp?
Yeah, so we try as much as we can to camp the tents relatively close to each other around the mess tent. So you see that the big tent there is actually a tent where we have a table and what do you call it? Stools in English? Small chairs?
Yeah.
Camping stools to sit on. I mean, it's not backpacking, so we have some heavy equipment, big gas stoves, and we're cooking decent meals inside this, and also because of the gas stoves, it's pretty warm inside. So if it's a cool evening, you can be in the tent and it's kind of warm. Well, not kind of, it is warm. Yeah, so this is a typical camping setup for this trip. Because
and the tents, there can be single or a double tent.
Yeah, the tents normally are double, but we can also accommodate the single occupation of a tent. It's true.
What do you do about safety? We haven't talked about polar bears.
We just choose the nicest person of the group to be sacrificed, and then the problem is solved. So. No. Yeah, the thing is, polar bears come with the drift ice in winter. They drift along the east coast of Greenland, and they're mainly staying out on the ocean, the open ocean, where they are hunting seals on the drift ice, on the pack ice. Occasional bears may kind of get caught up and stay back in the area in summer, but we're talking about maybe less than a handful of bears. So bear sightings are not very common. Honestly, after 30 years in operating in Greenland, I still haven't seen a polar bear in nature, only a polar bear that has been hunted by a hunter and was dead. But if we learn about a polar bear in the sort of not so far away, let's say in the vicinity of maybe just more than 10 miles or so, we might have a night watch. So we take shifts like one person at a time, with the only role to wake up the camp. And note that because we are far north, that early in August, it doesn't get very dark. There's a small period of the night where it's half dark only. So
like a twilight.
Well, yeah. So you still see, and then if we do know about a bear that is really close, sorry, but we have to evacuate. So we have to change our plans and adapt, because we don't want to be somewhere where there is a bear. But this hasn't happened to me yet. So I used to operate for a bigger company in the past, and for that operation, it happened once that we had a bear in camp. Both the clients and the bear were unharmed after that encounter. So basically, the bear walked away as soon as the commotion started about its being there. Bears in this region have been hunted for thousands of years, and they are mostly rather cautious, probably because of thanks to Mr. Darwin, the curious ones are the first one to be hunted, and they are still hunted by the local hunters. They have a quota of 25 bears in the region per year. What happened this year actually is that for the first time in decades, the quota was not reached. There were no bears there last summer at all, no sightings. So that's unusual, but could eventually be a sign of something changing. We don't know yet. But so in altogether, the bear thing is more about being cautious, because if we happen to meet, even though it's really unlikely, if we happen to meet an unhappy bear that is aggressive, then that's not a good thing. And because of that, of course, I must not forget to mention that we have a rifle with a big bullet. And the guide is trained to actually to use that. But that hasn't happened yet.
Good.
For me as an operator.
The wildlife that you're most likely going to see is maybe on land a ptarmigan or a fox. These curious little Arctic foxes might come up to the tents, but the talk of polar bears needed to be brought up. This is what Inga was talking about when she said the Inuit boats and our Inuit helping crew, they will bring the luggage to the camp and set up the tents before the group arrives each day, so that you don't have to do that. And
so, Tara, can I
yeah,
because this guy, I really like him. It's Eli,
the father of Laura.
The father of Laura that you visited in Kumjud, and his matros Jens is the guy that is standing in the water. And those guys are absolutely perfect. They're always on time. Everything stands as a clock. If they say we'll be there at 8 and they're not there at 8, something has happened on the way, because they're always there. And they just so quietly and politely doing their job every single day. And I'm very happy to have so good guys in the team. And Eli's a big hunter. He has hunted polar bears and seals and birds and fished all his life. So he knows this environment better than any.
I think for me, that's one of the things I really like. It took me a second time around in conversations with Inuits, just how tied to the land they are. I mean, like we joked around, I think last year, saying the younger generation uses like drones now to go into fjords and see if there's ice. But in the past, these men could just tell by the way the clouds were reflecting off in the distance if there was ice. It's amazing how tied into the land they are. Okay, so Einar, tell us, how hard is this hike? This is the highest elevation, right? Right here?
Yes. It's
so
about
tell me,
1,600 feet.
I'm sorry, tell us how high the elevation is. And we kind of went over this together, but I would love to know, just give them an estimate of how each day, how many hours they're walking, how many estimated miles, and why you're estimating it.
Well, first of all, you must have in mind that when you're walking in Greenland, then terrain is the way that you don't go very fast. Each mile takes a bit of a time, more than maybe when you're on a prepared path. This is the highest elevation you gain on the trek, and this is about 1,600 feet. It's a fantastic viewpoint over the Icefjord, and it also gives you a perfect view over the second camping of the group, which is in this really narrow fjord that you see on the picture. So I can't point to it, but it's a bit to the left on the line. When you look at the picture, you don't really see any camping, but when you come there, actually there is a good spot. And the two first days are not very long, but maybe 6-7 miles the 2 first days, and they take about, let's say, 5 to 6 hours each. 6 hours, easy going, and then the days get gradually a little bit longer, and we end with the longest day, which is about 22 kilometers, which is more like 15 miles, isn't it?
And
approximately.
you do have some water crossings, right? You have
Oh, yes.
you have a little bit of a river cross. Is this a little glacial river? And then also
Yeah.
you have a low tide in one of the fjords potentially.
So on 4 of the 5 hiking days, we have at least one river to cross each day. They're not very big, but the one in the Sun Gate is a little bit deep. It can be a bit over knee deep. Not stream is not very heavy, so it's the current. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, so you need to carry some kind of reasonably good shoes to cross the rivers with, like old sneakers or some river shoes or sandals and a pair of neoprene socks. But the rivers are not technical, and then I also, when we are guiding, we are pretty strict on how to cross them so that everybody is really safe. You can also see there, behind the people, how rough the terrain is on that small piece of coast. So the land you're walking on is constantly changing. So you're walking on soft vegetation, like mushy terrain, and then all of a sudden you're on flat granite, and then you're in boulders, and then you're in small stones, and then you're in big stones, and then you're again on the vegetation, and it's changing all the time like that. But there's nothing completely overwhelming on this trek in the sense of terrain. So it's yeah, so it's very varied, but not overly difficult.
And so the longest day is 15 miles.
Yes, but
Yeah.
the terrain that day is
Relatively flat.
Relatively flat, especially the first part there's quite a long stretch that is flat and partially untrodden paths. So yeah,
Good.
I mean it takes 8 to 9 hours to do that crossing, but it's yeah, that's one of the pictures from that day. Yeah, it's okay.
It's a beautiful day.
It's a very beautiful day because of the landscape changes again a lot, and where you end, the mountains are quite high.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really love that day actually.
Awesome. And I guess, does anybody have any specific questions about the hike itself? I mean, you could read the day-to-day. So I feel like when we talk about hiking in Greenland, the descriptions are like trying to describe going to Iceland. The names just do not match with what you have in your mind. Like, what is the Inuit words to describe it? And what I want people to get from this is to look at this trip as if it's like the Arctic Villages experience, but with more time in the hiking aspect of it, and seeing that you're going to have, looking at the variety of terrain and knowing that the highest elevation you're going to have is 1,600 feet, but to expect that you're going to be out walking, all day, getting yourself from point A to point B. You see that there is a team, some guides or assistants who will come into the camp each night to set up the tent. There's a boat there. So if there's an emergency, Einar, people can be evacuated. There's communication on the trek for evacuation if needed.
Yes,
yeah.
but so let's be clear that the boat is not staying with us during night, but we have, of course, we have communication devices. Both, well, we mostly use the InReach because it's most practical and comfortable to use. And it's easy to get a boat if needed. In terms of real urgency, medical or accident, there are helicopters based in Tasiilaq, the biggest town. And it did happen for us last year that somebody broke an ankle on a trip, and we got a helicopter, and and there is a small hospital in Tasiilaq. So even with the isolation of the area, there's still some medical services and some help to get if needed.
Are you able to see the website? Did that show up in the?
The greenadventures.com, yes.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, can you see? I've actually clicked on the website. Has it showed up, or is you just see the slides? I'll just stop here. I'll pull up the website in a second, but I want to address one of the questions like that Amy had asked too, was like, what do you do with the changing weather situation? How does one need to be flexible with that?
Well, first of all, what you said earlier is that the weather is better in Greenland than in Iceland. So most of the time we can run the programs without a problem. But it does happen that we do get storms, and we might have to, adapt in the way that maybe you have to wait a day and then get a help from a boat to catch up with the program, or we might have to return a little earlier from the trip because there's a storm coming in and we don't want you to miss the plane, or whatever. So we have the flexibility in operation to do that, but it's good to be prepared in your head. This is a possibility. It was also mentioned that in the beginning that there was a delay on the first Green Adventure trip 2 years ago in flight. That doesn't mean the weather is necessarily so bad. It's just can be a question of a little bit of a fog.
Yeah.
So when we're there, operationally, that would not harm us at all. It's just the flights have a different, of course, operation,
Yeah. Well, I want to jump in with that. What I learned from that experience, I think we had such a good group for that first trip that they were the perfect flexible group. And so we got on our flight to Greenland. Just as we were landing at Kulusuk, the captain says, everyone, like he says in Icelandic, get ready, we're about to land. And then in English, prepare yourself for landing. And so we're all like, yeah, we're about to land. And then he says something in Icelandic, and everybody that knows Icelandic went, oh, the whole plane made this noise. And then in English, it was, sorry, everybody, the fog has come in and it's impossible to land. We're now turning around and going back to Reykjavik. What? So the plane turns around and goes back to Reykjavik. Oh my gosh. And then Icelandair took care of us. They got a hotel for us that night and transportation to that hotel. I think we bought pizza as a group. They gave us breakfast the next day, got us on a shuttle, went back to the airport, but they broke our group up in half, and half of them got to fly. The other half had to spend another night in Greenland, and then again paid for by Icelandair and go back out again. But at least Icelandair did take care of us in that sense. And this is also why I suggest you book your flight on Icelandair. If you're arriving, definitely, if the tour starts on the 6th of August and you want to arrive on the 6th of August, I suggest you book your flight with Icelandair, because if on your way to Iceland, your luggage is lost or delayed, or you are delayed, it'll be a lot easier for Einar to talk with Icelandair and connect those two reservations together so they could try to help you get your stuff and you to Kulusuk. Okay, so there's a lot of behind the scenes juggling that needs to take place. And what I always want people to know is that you're not left to just deal with it. We will do our best to help you with any possible thing we can. The other thing you need to do is get travel insurance. You should get a comprehensive travel insurance plan. Comprehensive means it doesn't just cover medical evacuation. It covers your trip. It covers the cost of your prepaid, what you pay in advance before that tour, and has trip interruption and trip cancellation. You can find that on our website or shop around for it yourself, but that will give you the whole package. So when these mishaps happen on tours that have a lot of pieces, you can just rest and be like, I'm covered. I'm covered for medical evacuation. I'm covered if the weather makes me have to stay 3 extra nights in Iceland, all those things. And believe me, that's not a bad thing to have to spend 3 extra nights in Iceland. Okay, so that is from that perspective on so that's the perspective from, you know, like some of the pivots that we have to, and we can't lay out every scenario, but this is where I'm reiterating, it's so important to have people on the ground locally who could try to move things around for folks, okay? And then, so any other questions about that? Oh. Einar, Inga, do you have anything else you want to add? Anybody want to know about what you eat? What are, like, go ahead.
Our brains.
What?
I think our brain is getting a little bit tired. At least I talk for myself.
All right. Well, good. Yeah, you guys, it's midnight. It's 12:30 your
Mm-hmm.
time. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and for hanging out a little longer than anticipated. Oh, I wanted to show you real quick here. Well, you go to greenadventures.com. That's how you find this tour, and you could go to the Women's Adventures. And you'll see there's two different treks here. You know, the East Greenland's Arctic Villages and the Icefjord trek. And you could just click, you know, check availability to book. Do know that these tours are priced in euros. You can pay in US dollars. You see down here, it has the US dollar. Our operations are in euros, so that's why it's in euros, but you could still pay in US dollars, and you can set up your installments, which begin in January for the Arctic Villages tour in particular. And so each one has its own payment plans. All right. Well, I'll stick around if anybody else has any questions they want to ask. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming tonight. And I will send this link out to all of you and those who registered. So feel free to share it with your friends. We are excited to see you in Greenland in this summer. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on this video call with us tonight.
Thank you.
Tara, there's a question about a single supplement in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there is a single supplement. So if you want to get your own room, you just have, I believe it's listed in there. It should be a single supplement in the booking. I have to go back and look. Let's see. I think I have to look. But Joanne, if you want your own room, we definitely can set that up. It might be later on in this, We Travel set up, changed how they take a single supplement. So just let me know and I'll tell you what it is. Okay. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Thanks, Cynthia, for letting me know.
Yeah, of course.
But it's singles are not forced singles. So I want anybody to know that if they're signing up solo, they'll be paired with a roommate. But if they want their own room guaranteed or own tent guaranteed throughout the tour, they need to pay a single supplement for that.
Sure. I think if you don't mind my speaking,
yes,
we I think there were 4 of us who were interested, and at least one has dropped out. So we're not sure if it's, you know, what the roommate situation would be. Yeah. Typically, 2 of each of us, you know, there'd be 2 in each room. So I don't know how early you need that information.
I think by January, like February would be good to know, because then it's just the rooms, there's not very many rooms.
Right.
Yeah. So what we're to know what we're holding.
Okay.
We can always release a single. I think it's easier to release it than to try to find it later.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Tara, I was trying to understand the actual trip length, and I was trying to look online too at flights at the same time. Yeah. So if flights go, if the trek is the 6th through the 13th, you can leave on the 5th at night and arrive on the 6th in the morning. Yeah. Is that cutting it too close, or is that possible?
Well, it's up to you how you want to do it. It's not cutting it too close. It's like some people, we were finding that people were coming in early on the early before.
Yeah.
So we were putting in an extra day before the flight, and then people were still coming in on that another day early, and they had like 2 days of just doing nothing, like hanging out.
Yeah. Okay.
You certainly, if you can make it work, come in the night before, acclimate a little bit, and then you have a day in Reykjavik or whatever, that we don't have to get to the airport till the flight's at 5, I think. And so check-in's about 3. But in theory, barring no delays, you can arrive that morning at 6 a.m., between 6 and 8, what most flights arrive, and then go to the Blue Lagoon, hang out, and then come back for your flight to Greenland.
And that all happens on the 6th.
On the
So if
6th,
you-
yes.
And then so your flights are the 5th overnight, is that right? Like,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You would fly the night of the 5th to arrive in the morning of the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Which
Cynthia, oh, go ahead, Joanna. Sorry.
no, that's okay. That's what I'm trying to feel like. Okay, so could I pull off a full day at work?
You could. You could. I would. The only thing I would consider is if there's a delay, or
I
if
know.
then I guess.
Detroit, you're flying out of Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does Detroit have direct flights?
Oh yeah. Yeah. She would
I
take.
think
She would take the 8 p.m. flight and then
I
get
think
there.
your
at
risk is a
6:30.
lot lower with that than somebody who's coming from Sacramento, who has to connect in Seattle, who has to then go to
Right.
because
Okay.
on the end of the trek, your flight gets back around 7 p.m. and it's probably unlikely that you're going to find a flight home to the United States,
Yeah.
and you'll need a night close to the airport at the end.
That's what I was thinking. Like, if we did this, I'd fly back out on the 14th,
You would leave on
maybe.
the 14th, and you could leave anytime. You could do 11 a.m.
Yeah.
or whatever is available.
Yeah. I'm trying to shrink the amount of days I have to take off work. So that's what I'm.
When does is the 14th a weekday?
No, or it's a Friday.
Oh, it's a Friday. Okay.
So yeah, I was like, ooh, could I get back? Or, like I was trying to play around with
Yeah.
the dates because it's also like right before school starts. So I'm that.
I know you're like, this is August is a tough one for
Yeah. But that's okay.
All right,
I
I
just
hope it works. Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
just wanted to see what my options were. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Happy to.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, you all know how to find me if you need me. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, great to see everybody.
Thank you.